video posted by Iranian state media claims to show missiles being fired at Israeli cities and U.S. military bases in the region. It's not clear exactly where they're talking about, and we do not have any reports of any of these missiles actually hitting anything, but this video just came out. This comes after reports that Iran had, quote, special plans for Tel Aviv and regional allies. It's unclear from the video or the posts when this footage was actually filmed. This comes as President Trump has declared a 5-day pause on striking Iran's power plants after he claims the two countries made major points of agreements after talks. But he warns that the U.S. will not hesitate to ramp up military operations. Iran says doesn't need to lay mines. Do you believe them?
Well, Alex, not exactly, but they're kind of right in one way. And it's kind of interesting because all they have to do is threaten to lay mines and threaten to disperse them. That may be enough to really gum up the works as far as the Strait of Hormuz is concerned. So that's one thing. I do actually believe that there were some mines that have actually been laid. At least that's what seems to be, what seems to be the case right now. But they don't have to lay very many of them. And yet they have an arsenal reputed to be somewhere around 5,000 or so of these mines, and they can certainly do a lot of damage if they choose to do so. But my feeling is that they probably haven't done that yet. They haven't pressed that lever yet because they feel they don't need to.
So right off the top of the show, we showed video of Iranian missiles being launched. Iran State TV is announcing that Iran has, quote, special plans for Tel Aviv. What could those special plans be? And do we know of any actual hits of any of these missiles?
Yeah, so far we don't know of any hits of any of those missiles, so this is kind of interesting because usually you'll get the Israelis to say that there's been an impact or they've had an alert in Tel Aviv or wherever in Israel that the missiles are thought to be headed toward. So what the special plan could be is in some cases more of the same in the sense that they might be cluster munition warheads. So this would be a warhead that has a whole bunch of cluster munitions in it, somewhere upwards of 80 in some cases, and they separate just before the warhead re-enters into the target zone. And so as they do that, they can cause a lot of damage in many different areas. So that might be one surprise. The worst kind of surprise, of course, would be if there was some kind of biological agent or a chemical agent attached to them. We do not know of anything like that happening at this point, but that is, certainly a worst case scenario, and it's certainly something that the Israelis have been worried about for some time.
And lastly, we hear that the U.S. is sending extra forces to the region, including Marines. What does that tell you? And because the Marines are being sent there, does that mean there's a good chance that we will have some sort of ground troops?
Well, ground troops are, of course, part of what the Marines do. They come in and they take over territory in terms of amphibious operations. So one possibility is that they could be used around the Strait of Hormuz, perhaps to secure the beachhead around the Iranian shoreline there, and perhaps even go into Bandar Abbas, which is a city and a main naval port, naval base for the Iranians. The other thing that, of course, could be part of the mission for the Marine Expeditionary Unit that is headed there, actually there are two of them, could also be Karg Island. That's, of course, in the northern part of the Persian Gulf, and that's where 90% of their oil is basically refined and processed for export. So those are two possibilities, and then the third one would be that these Marines might be used in part for a nuclear retrieval mission, and that would be going after those canisters, the scuba tank-sized canisters of highly enriched uranium, but the knowledge of exactly where those are is not definitive at this point, and so that's perhaps a stretch as far as their mission goes. So that would be if those Marines are used. They may just be there as a presence for the U.S. to have some leverage over the area, but that's one of the areas where the U.S. could potentially put ground troops actually on the ground on Iranian soil if they chose to do so.
朗法尔斯通讯社今天公布多组卫星对比图，显示美军位于巴林、沙特阿拉伯、科威特的基地遭到伊朗精确打击，基地内多处军事设施被摧毁。卫星对比图显示，美军位于巴林的谢赫伊萨空军基地内，一处爱国者导弹系统的雷达被摧毁。此外，美军位于沙特海尔季绿洲军事基地和科威特阿利萨利姆空军基地内的侦察机库、无人机库、军官宿舍以及预警雷达等设施均遭到打击。
播报新闻是我的日常，必须时刻保持妆容和皮肤的最佳状态。当来到人生中最重要的时刻，也是 KS 逆时奇迹帮助我轻松驾驭，闪闪发光。KS 逆时奇迹活肤露全效精华、精华霜，多达5种 EGF 6大冻龄关键成分，保湿效果让我非常满意，小细纹也不再困扰我。我就是我自己的最佳女主角 ，KS 让我从容自信、光彩动人。我是我人生中的大女主，我的最爱我做主。KS 逆时奇迹系列热卖中，下单请上快点购，透过中天新闻网 App 下单立减50，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。